Hey guys, it's Ian here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're doing our TBR video for the month of October. Sorry, brain fart. TBR for October. However, I do want to mention that I am going to be the YouTuber of the month for the Omnibuds Cafe Facebook group, so I will be doing a video about that later today. It's going to be kind of like an introduction video. It's kind of like the idea that it's kind of like a tag video, right? So Sal, the owner of the group, sent me a list of questions, and I will be answering some of those questions in a video to kind of do like an introduction of myself to the Omnibuds Cafe Facebook group. And if you guys are interested in watching it, you should too. So for the rest of the month, I will be mentioning that in my comic book videos for sure. I will mention it in some of my manga videos though. And it's basically just a way to grow the Facebook group. If you're interested in joining it, please do so. I'll leave links down below in the mentions section of my description, and also I will put it as a pinned comment for every video. So let's get started with the TBR here. So in terms of stuff that I read, or that I said I would read last month that I didn't get around to, that I want to read this month, we have The Trials of Ultraman, which is Ultraman number 2 from Marvel. And then we have The Mystery of Ultra 7 to finish off the Ultra collection so far from Marvel. They do have another series currently serializing, but who knows when that will get a trade paperback. And once it does, I don't know when I'll buy it because I want to wait for it to be cheaper, right? So, I also wanted to finish reading Solo Leveling, and actually, start reading it because I have not managed to touch it in a while. I love Solo Leveling. I think it's one of the best stories to come out of the lit RPG kind of wave, at least from Japan, from not Japan, at least from Korea, because it is kind of like a cultural phenomenon for Korea. It is like the big lit RPG type story from Korea. It's also the big webtoon and one of the, manhwa, Korean comic. And it is kind of the primogenitor, the first of its kind for what basically turned out to be a very bustling Korean market of manhwa, right? And a lot of them are copies of Solo Leveling, but it is still kind of a tentpole of that kind of vibe, right? And that isn't to say that there wasn't Korean comics beforehand. There were, and they were pretty popular, and some of them were kind of high up there, right? Like something like The Breaker, right? But I feel like there was a resurgence in Korean comics thanks to the adaptation of Solo Leveling, and it is kind of a cultural phenomenon across the world, right? So I want to finish reading it because I really love the story, but I've just been putting it off because I don't want to finish it yet. And I want to start Gyun Saga. There's only 5 books of this in the US. They only cover the first novel, or the first story arc, I guess. Even if I read all of it, I will not get to read the rest of the story ever, but I do want to at least own the stuff that's available in English, and I want to read it, and I want to know that I like it, right? So, also, I had realized that it's been over 10 months, or over 9 months, and I have not read a single light novel this year, and that's really disappointing because that's one of the key aspects of my channel that I launched with, and it kind of sucks that I've been kind of putting it to the wayside. That isn't to say that I haven't read light novel-esque things, right? Like Cradle, The Wandering Inn, a lot of lit RPG American books are also in that kind of vein. They are basically just light novels, but they are not literally light novels, right? And so that's disappointing. But so that's it for what I want to continue on from last month. Moving on to the Sword and Sorcery book club stuff that I want to read. So I wanted to continue reading Conan, and I might still do it because Conan does have a horror element, right? And that makes sense for October, but I'm not sure because I don't want to do that. So I was thinking of doing horror stories of Robert E. Howard, right? And I just thought, I'll read a few of them throughout the month, and I'll just do videos for them for the channel as I kind of get through it, right? And I thought that was a good way to look at it, right? I could do Wolf's Head and the more Ghost, and maybe something to do with the the Blackstone, right? But I don't know, because there's also a Conan story that I was talking about the other day called A Witch Shall Be Born. And it's about a witch, so, or like at least it has the title that relates to a witch, so that could still be a good horror like story to read. So I'm not really sure what I want to read for the Sword and Sorcery Book Club. It'll probably be the horror stories of Robert E. Howard, though. But I don't know. There's also a occult detective series that I bought last year thanks to a recommendation from Michael K. Vaughan. He did a video about Jules de Grandin, who is an occult detective. I have the first book in his collection. I think it's like the 20 best stories of Jules de Grandin. And I didn't read it last year or the year that I bought it, which I think was last year. So I thought maybe I should read one or two of those stories. The thing is that they're like detective stories. They're not really like Sword and Sorcery. So I'm not really sure if I should put it on the Sword and Sorcery book channel. But I probably will, just because it feels more like something that kind of crew of people would be interested in, and more so than, you know, the average manga enthusiast that watches this channel, right? So we'll see how that goes. I'll probably read at least one story from there, 2 or 3 stories from this one, and just kind of make videos come out of that as we kind of get through it. Yeah, I mean, other than that, in terms of comic books, I have one physical comic I want to read, which is The Me You Love in the Dark. This is a Scotty Young and Jorge Corona book, and I love those. I think they're really fun and interesting. This one is kind of it's kind of like a horror story, but not really, because it's more of a love story slash like a story about the life of an artist that has this horror element attached to it, right? Because it's about this woman who moves to a creepy, decrepit house, and she ends up kind of having this weird relationship with this monster that lives in it. And it's supposed to be really interesting, right? The Casually Comics mentions that it's really great. But I got it for my birthday, I think. I think my sister got it for me for my birthday this year. And I really wanted to read it, so I thought this was a good opportunity to do so. I do have 2 digital comics that I want to read. One of them is The Creature Commandos. That's the original appearance of that group. I bought it a few years ago. I wanted to read it. I haven't gotten around to it. I thought this would be a good time to do so. Especially because I've been in a kick where I'm kind of enjoying old school comic book art, right? So that's cool. I don't know too much about it. I know that there's going to be a TV show in December. I think it's a good idea to get familiarized with the concept ahead of time, and I think that'll be a good thing for me to do. So, Creature Commandos. I also have a bunch of Eerie archive books in PDF thanks to a Humble Bundle, so I want to read at least one more. I do have the Eerie reading project that I started last year or 2 years ago, and I just never continued on with, so I kind of want to revive that. I think it's a good idea to come back to it. I think it's interesting, and you know, I don't necessarily like horror, and Eerie stories aren't really all that scary, to be honest. I mean, they were scary at the time, but nowadays, you know, like your average normal story has more horror elements than anything that you can see in Eerie. But Eerie is in Warren Publishing stuff in general, is a collection of a bunch of classic artists from when they were young and maybe not even that popular yet. And it's really interesting to see all of that artwork in black and white, mostly just inks, in a way that is really phenomenal and fantastic. And so, you know, I might end up picking up some of them physically. I don't think I will anytime soon, but I do want to own at least 1 or 2 of them because I think the cover art is amazing and I would like to have it in my collection. But Eerie and Creepy, which I have both, are really interesting and valuable in terms of like the history of creators, right, in the comic book genre. And so I wanted to read some of it. So yeah, that's it for the comic books. Let's talk about novels really quick, and then we'll go on to the manga, which is the largest section this time, which is great because it's been a while since I really read a lot of manga. So here we have Hammered, the Iron Druid Chronicles Book 3. I love this series a lot. I think I like it a little bit more than Jim Butcher's Dresden Files, but that's because the Dresden Files are a bit more serious, right, about the way that they build magic. This is pretty basic stuff. It's just a dude who happens to be a druid, and he just gets into weird, wacky adventures that are pretty inconsequential to each other, book to book, right? Like, there is continuity because the character does mention stuff that happened before, you know, in his recollections while this story is happening, but they're pretty independent. You could kind of read them as one-offs and it wouldn't be a problem. Where I feel like the Jim Butcher Dresden Files are a bit more interconnected, right? And so I find this a bit easier to read, or at least I have found it to be easier to read lately. I do want to get back to Jim Butcher's work. I think he's an amazing author, and I like the Fears of Calderon a lot, but I probably will read that next month. And it's been a while since I read an Edgar Rice Burroughs novel, so I decided to read The Monster Man, which is basically Edgar Rice Burroughs' version of Frankenstein, something like that, or The Island of Dr. Monroe, something in that kind of vein. And I thought it'd be interesting to read it. Also, I just love this cover and I think it's cool. So, yeah, that's it for that. Moving on to manga here. So we have a kind of a mixed collection here. So some of it is Monster Girl stuff. Some of it is vampires. Some of it is just magic in general. And some of it is undefined. But it's all kind of vaguely demon and creature related stuff, right? None of this is horror, just because I don't have any horror manga, but it is still kind of thematically relevant, and the basic kind of concepts of Halloween and spooky time, which is magic, weird creatures, and interesting kind of stuff, right? So first we have Dragon Maid. Here we have Dragon Maid 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, and there isn't too much to say. I just want to read it some more. I want to really enjoy this story. It's been a while since I got to read it. I finally managed to collect some of it this past I think it was Q2 where I got most of these. So I thought it's a good opportunity to get back to reading it. I'm very excited about it. I just love Dragon Maid a lot. I think it's a really wholesome story. It is kind of Yuri-esque, right? It has sapphic elements, but that's not really the draw for me. The draw is I like the artwork. I think it's cutesy and ridiculous, also really horny. But also, I just like the development of the story, the way that Kobayashi and Kana and Toru and all of the characters in the story interact and develop and grow to find themselves as a family unit. And I think that's really valuable, right? So then we have Chain Soldier number 7 and Chain Soldier number 8. So this is technically like a demon fighting manga, so it fits. And it's been a while since I read any of it, so I wanted to get back into it. I don't know if I have enough books to do another arc review, so we'll have to see about that, but I hope I can get one out at some point this month. I do have like 20 videos left over from last month that I just didn't get around to making, so I'll have to find a way to intersperse them. So this month technically is a horror slash spooky stuff kind of reading month for me, but at the same time it'll probably just be a continuation of the sci-fi month from last month, just because I still have a lot of videos to relate to you guys that relate to sci-fi and stuff, right? So yeah, then we have Case Study of Vanitas. It's about a vampire. I don't really know too much else about it. I think so it's a sort of steampunk vampire story. He's trying to find some grimoire to learn about vampires or something like that. I don't really know. I just got it because I thought it looked cool. I want to see what it's about. We have Game of Familia. This is really a fantasy isekai story, so it really doesn't fit, but I thought that the monster element here was good enough to warrant it, right? There's see, it has stuff like this, where it's like very weird and creepy and kind of concerning, but also pretty interesting looking, so I thought it would fit. Also, buying a new book and not reading it soon is kind of kind of shitty, because then you like put it in your TBR shelf and you forget about it, and I've been doing that too much lately. So I want to try my best to, as soon as I bring a new book in, try to read it. It hasn't really worked out for me, but hoping that with this book it kind of does. So we'll see. And then we have Mashal here. So this is not the end of the series. I still have a few books left, but I do want to try to catch up to it. So here we have book 11, book 12, 13, 14, oops, sorry about that, 15, and 16. So it's been a while since I read Mashal. I really love the story, so I want to get back into it. And it's about magic, so what could go wrong? I think this fits perfectly. So yeah, like usual, my reading habits for October aren't really horror related. They're just kind of like vaguely related to the concept of magic and creepy stuff. And that's good with me. So yeah, there really isn't too much else to say. I don't feel like this was a good video, but I got to do it, so I'll just post it. I don't have time to do it again. So you know, it is what it is. What are you guys reading this month? Let me know down below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and see you guys later.